Hey everybody over at movies.com, it's the Schmoes No Movie Show. I'm Christian.
And I am Mark. Christian, this weekend in theaters, we have Dracula Untold. Can you believe there's a story they haven't told about this guy yet?
It's going to be tough because there have been a lot of stories told about Dracula and vampires in general. And Mark and I were talking about it as we were going over our list, and like, you know what, let's just do the top 5 vampire movies of all time. I mean, it's coming up to Halloween.
That's right, and look, it's not just Dracula movies. These are all vampires. There's a lot of cool vampires out there that don't necessarily even have ever met Dracula. Right. So here we go, Christian, and we're going to kick off with more of a modern day tale, and it's based on a comic book. It is not Monster Squad, however, that is definitely an honorable mention. We're going with Blade, particularly the first one.
Marvel's Blade, yeah.
Marvel's Blade, and Wesley Snipes as the vampire is really the last great franchise that he was a part of before they caught the vampire for tax evasion.
Nice. Let's not, the difference is there's like a spin on this because it's not the traditional vampire movie. There's a superhero feel to it because he's half vampire, half human. Stephen Dorff is all vampire and all creepy. It was a great movie. It was a different spin on this, on the vampires, and you really felt it, and the R rating really helped this movie for what it was.
That's right, and Wesley Snipes, I mean, again, just one of the best ass kickers on the planet at that time, and The Expendables 3, I think still he's got some chops.
And a great mentor with Chris Christopherson, by the way.
At number 4, Christian, is a movie that's really, really old, but man, did it kick off a franchise.
Nosferatu, and this is not William Dafoe playing Nosferatu.
Shadow the Vampire, great movie.
This is actually Nosferatu. It was a matter of, people were saying, is Max Shrek an actual vampire? Because it was back then, special effects, if you could pull it off, that's real.
You know, it's easier just to cast a real vampire in the 20s and 30s because you didn't have all this makeup that you did today.
Right.
The movie itself is like, I mean,
it's dated.
Dated is being kind to it. However, just because the way that it was shot with the technology they had at the time and how creepy Max Shrek actually was, it's still scary just for that.
Yeah, you just Google images of Nosferatu and you're like, no, thank you. Number 3 coming in is a movie that a lot of controversy when it first came out of the casting of the main vampire, Lestat, and that's Interview with the Vampire, the Anne Rice book starring Tom Cruise and a young Brad Pitt and Christian Slater, who replaced who? River Phoenix.
River Phoenix, okay. And an even younger Kirsten Dunst. She was really, really little in Neil Jordan's film. And I was really excited to see this movie. I was probably too young to see it when I did see it, so I couldn't really appreciate it. I didn't really dig this movie, but people seem to like it. I need to revisit the movie. Look, it's got Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. How can it be bad?
I think you should revisit it because it's a movie that it just showed what these guys did as actors, and it was right as Brad Pitt was coming into his prime, and it's a back and forth with these two guys, and you see the power switch happen throughout the movie, which is very fascinating. And you mentioned Kirsten Dunst. She is terrifying as this little girl vampire. It's heartbreaking at one point, and it's scary. So I dug the movie.
And Sympathy for the Devil, recorded by?
Perfect. Guns N' Roses.
Very good. Well, that was one good song, An Interview with the Vampire. A whole good soundtrack is The Lost Boys, and it's also a really good movie. That's why it's at number 2. Yeah.
That Danzig-looking guy. But the movie itself, now some people, if you're not of our generation, you're like, wait a minute, Lost Boys at number 2? You're damn right.
Yes.
This movie's awesome. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim and the main guy.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Not Kiefer Sutherland. Jason Patrick. Jason Patrick is running around. There's something going on with him. Did he get bit by a vampire? We don't know. But there are changes that come in, and it's up to the Frog Brothers to help.
Yeah, it's got a very, I don't want to say it's dated, but it's got a very fun 80s feel to it. And I think the movie still holds up today. And it's a fantastic, different spin on the vampires. It's a more modern day kind of look.
Good comedy in it as well.
Absolutely, and it reminds me of another great movie. It's not going to be our number 1.
Vampires suck. Oh.
No. I thought you were going to say Dracula Dead and Loving It. That's not anywhere near our list either. Number 1, it's not that hard to tell. Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
I still think that this is one of the best monster films of all time, just because not only is Gary Oldman just blows you away with how he plays Dracula.
Great hair.
But the best version of Van Helsing ever with Hopkins. The way I put a stick through a heart and I cut off a head. like he just had eggs.
He comes in the second half of that movie, and he's a great ass-kicking, vampire killer, but he also has some comic relief to it. And by that point in the movie, you need something just to break up how creepy and what a tone that Francis Ford Coppola sets. Keanu Reeves, Is it the movie? Winona Ryder's great, and Gary Oldman is so fantastic.
Keanu Reeves is totally miscast in this role.
Yeah.
It's the one little hiccup. That's it. That's our list. There are absolutely tons and tons and tons of honorable mentions. You could have the Underworld franchise if you wanted to put that in there.
There you go. You could put Van Helsing starring Hugh Jackman.
No.
Or we won't do that.
No.
Not going to do that. And you must give a shout out to 1931's Dracula starring Mr. Bela Lugosi.
That's the one. You're right. And then you also, there's Let Me In, Let the Right One In, the remakes or whatnot. So I know a lot of people are fans of that. We didn't see that, so we don't know if that could have made the list. But that's it. That's our list. I'm sure you guys have a list. Was our list? Did we nail it? Did we get it wrong? Comment and tell us what you think.
So you got Dracula Untold in theaters this weekend. If you want to see if that could make the top 5 vampire movies on your list, you also have The Judge, starring Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr. And Steve Carell and Jennifer Garner and a host of kids and animals and crazy stuff. And Alexander and the terrible, no good, very bad, awful
Rotten.
day.
I think you got it wrong.